So I started with the chord progression and wrote it in key minor, and then I slowly added some notes, lower and higher, just to give it more vibrance, more color. So it sounds like this. Then I added 3 notes above and bass notes, so it altogether sounds like this. Now it sounds much fuller and richer. Then I just took all the high notes of chord progression and just put them up an octave. So this is the original chord, and this is like with upped chords. The same goes all the way through, and we have like this high note, which is also part of old chord progression, and the bass notes are the same. So altogether here it sounds like this. And now it just builds that tension before drop, or just gives that different vibe than just basic chords. The synth that I use here is just the Serum with this one M-Tron Saw, which is in synth pack. This is the original synth. I didn't change it at all. I just gave it additional filtering for more movement and reverb. And I also added fab filters, so it just cuts all the lower frequencies, so it just gives more space for bass, and yeah, it sounds like this. A little bit less dirty than without fab filter. Then we have another chord progression, which is just the duplicate of the lower chord progression that I already showed you, but I used different synth here. It's also Serum, and it's hyper saw layered. It's also in synth pack, and it sounds like this. So both of them together sound like this. So it gives like more energy to the song, which is what we're going for. I also have fab filter here, so I use it for mid-range and high mid, so it gives more vibrance to the overall sound of this chord progression. Also, this chord progression changes over time, so it gives more interesting like development of melody. So it's just the original chord, which is just cut up, and it gives like this sidechain effect. So we also have like the third pattern here, which repeats on fourth part, which is just gives this additional movement, and I added just additional 2 notes playing above everything else, so it gives like this melodic vibe to it. We also have like this simple counter melody, which gives more interest to the song, and rhythmically it just separates from the original melody, but it's really simple. And I use Faceplant as the plug sound. It's original preset from Faceplant Physical Nylonator, which I didn't change at all, so it's the standard preset. And we also have a drone sound, which is just one note playing all the way through the song. With tons of reverb and a little bit of auto-filtering to cut off the high end of the sound, and this drone gives this ominous vibe to the song. Here we have our bass, which is just a Reese bass in Serum. It's just the lower notes of our melody, which I duplicated and separated from the main chord progression. So the Serum preset is really simple. It's just 2 saw waves with a little bit of unison and sub bass on with 1 octave lower. I also added some distortion and compression above it, and also OTT to give it like this crispness as it was on the counter melody. And I added some EQ. I also used Fab Filter here to give it more bass, just simple low boost preset. And I used glue compressor to just give this firmness to the bass, so it sounds without glue compressor a little bit too dirty. It's all over the place, and with glue compressor it sounds much better. And now we go to the drums, which are really simple, just the regular drum and bass kick snare option. So altogether it sounds like this. But as you can see, I also added like this ghost snares, which give this additional movement to the drum part of the song. And in the second half of the drop, I also added another snare above, which sounds a little bit brighter, and it gives more volume to the drums. And I used really simple hi-hat loop. So altogether, drums sound like this. So I also did post-processing on kick and snare. I gave it more vibrance, so I used filtering and drum bus in order to make them stand out of the mix. And then we use stabs, risers, impacts to lead our listener to the drop. So I also used compressor and lowered the threshold just to make it less punchy, the overall mix. I also used some filtering, as you can see, even 3 times. I just experimented with it. At first I gave it like general purpose balancing presets and subtle stereo enhancers and mix deharsh, and in the end we have the simple limiter which just boosts a little bit of volume. I don't think that this is actually necessary. If you're good at mixing, that you probably don't need 3 fab filters or a limiter, but I usually do it, so it's just this weird creative process, you know. So this is basically it. If you enjoyed this sound, let me know in the comments, I would love to read them. So thank you and bye.